Good morning, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to the Application Support webinar for the Freight Innovation Fund Accelerator 4. My name is Andrea, and I lead the Accelerator program. Just to let you know, we are recording this session, and we will share the video and the presentation with you in a few days in case you would like to rewatch it or share it with any SME who might be interested in the program. Also, you can always email the Freight Innovation Fund team, and we will be happy to support you with your application. Please feel free to use the Q&A button and ask any questions throughout the presentation that we will get to those at the end. Next slide, please. Okay, let's quickly go over what we have planned for today. So we will begin with an overview from our program funder, the Department for Transport, who will outline the government's vision and expectations for our fourth cohort. Next, our program director, Steve, will introduce Connected Places Catapult and share a bit more about the program and explain the difference between the accelerator and the cluster. I'll then give you an overview of our fourth accelerator and highlight some key details and opportunities for you. After that, my colleague Alexandra, who led the development of the program challenges, will walk you through them. And I'll finalize the presentation explaining the selection process and how to apply to the program. Then we will wrap up with a Q&A session where you can ask any questions you may have. Next slide, please. Perfect. Now I'll hand over to David Elvey, who is Deputy Head of the Multimodal Freight Division at the Department for Transport.
Thanks, Andrea, and welcome everybody. I've been watching the attendees numbers tick up. It's good to see so many of you on the call. As this slide makes very clear, my name's David Elvey, as Deputy Head of Multimodal Freight. What that really means is we are a part of the Department for Transport that, rather than looking at transport from a modal perspective, which is how much of transport is viewed, we try to take a cross-system multimodal viewpoint for the freight sector. And therefore, one of the strings to my bow is the Freight Innovation Fund, which is our cross-modal innovation funding spending stream. And we run that, as Andrea suggested, our fourth cohort. So we ran it through the last spending review period, slowly ramping up the amount of money that we have available. And we're pleased that we've rolled it over for at least one more year. And so all of you have the opportunity to bid into this fourth round. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So why do we do it? So why did we get the permission to roll it over? It was a policy of the previous government, and incoming new governments are not always keen on continuing what their predecessors put in place. They have a different sort of angle on things. But the short answer to that is the Freight Innovation Fund pretty much supports, to different degrees, the government's missions. Now, what are they? There are 5 of them, which you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. And if you like, they are the lens through which government, all departments, look at policy and decide which policies to prioritise. So I think probably everyone's pretty familiar with the idea that we need some economic growth. So irrespective of your kind of position on the best way to achieve that, that's one of the objectives of the government. And the freight sector is ideally placed to help support that. And it does that in 2 ways, essentially. It's obviously, in and of its own right, a very large economic sector. It depends a bit on how you do the numbers, but it's roughly 5% of non-financial GVA. It has an additional advantage. It is distributed fairly equitably across the country. It doesn't, it's not based in the big cities in the same way as many other sectors are. It is often the largest private sector employer in many peripheral regions and in areas of the country that need more economic development. So the short answer is the government likes the freight sector. And then it also kind of picks up, to a slightly lesser extent, the idea around safer streets. How do you integrate freight into residential areas? We all require stuff delivered to our homes these days. If we want to do any building work, we need the freight sector to deliver the materials. But at the same time, vans, trucks, they bring road safety, they bring environmental impacts which need to be managed. And I'll probably tick down to barriers to opportunity and clean energy superpower. Decarbonising freight, you'll probably see from the challenges. We're constantly battling this. If you're moving heavy things long distances, it tends to be a significant challenge to move ourselves from an oil-based economy into a net zero economy. And then breaking down the barriers to opportunity is also interesting. As I said up front, this is a geographically dispersed sector. So it provides regular work, not always highly paid, but it also provides opportunity for career progression, and it provides opportunity for skilled workers to find work in parts of the country where skilled work is often in short supply. So they're the government's missions. We obviously are important to those. And then the Department of Transport has its own three priorities. We used to have five. This government's been more efficient, and actually it's easier to work on that. So infrastructure to work for the whole country. We see freight as a multimodal system of systems. The infrastructure that builds that up is both virtual and physical. And we are interested in developing and improving and enhancing both. I've mentioned greener transport, so we won't go down that rabbit hole again. And then better integrating transport networks. Obviously, I think the way that the department thinks about this and the Secretary of State thinks about this is particularly around the passenger. So how do you better integrate the road and the rail networks? How do you ensure that there's a seamless transition from the airport into the surface transport that you pick up or take to the airport? But it equally applies in our minds, and I think in ministers' minds, to the freight system. Parcels are not committed to any particular mode of transport. They tend to move along the freight system according to the priorities of the customer. So cost, time, reliability, resilience, and so on. But they almost always change modes at least once. It's difficult if you're an island not to come by air or by sea. And then at some point, you're almost certainly going to have to travel by road. So how those the nodes between those modes work and can be better integrated is a key concern of ours. Next slide, please. So the Freight Innovation Fund itself, why did we do it? Now the rationale hasn't actually shifted that much since we created the fund. We've done some nuanced changes as we've gone along. But fundamentally, there's a disconnect, or there's more than one disconnect, I suspect, between the freight sector and the innovators. So those of you on this call. And it happens, I think, in two ways. Freight is a low margin, largely commoditized business. It's actually full of fairly established players. Although you see quite a lot of churn at the sort of bottom end of the road freight market, actually much of the many of the organisations within the freight sector are very long established, and as such, they've kind of become small c conservative. And so most innovation in freight is incremental. It's very, very difficult to implant transformational innovation. And as we look at decarbonisation, as we look to grow the economy, shifting the dial slightly towards the more transformational is probably important. And then I think it's also true that amongst innovators, awareness of the needs of the freight sector and the way in which the freight sector operates are perhaps not as strong as they could be. So I think what we find is innovators tend to look at a sort of global problem and figure out how to fix it, but it's not necessarily being done in discussion with the freight sector and how they would actually adopt the technology. So there's a disconnect there. So the Freight Innovation Fund helps to bridge those gaps, and it focuses on late stage innovation, so TRL 5+. So what we're really doing here is looking to move from a functioning prototype into commercial operation, so making that leap. Obviously, we're looking at resilience and efficiency as a part of that. I think it's worth saying, as we try to move you along the TRL levels, we've very much focused on an end-to-end pipeline. So I imagine some of you have probably are coming to this having been through our TRIG program for the earlier stage innovation. And we're trying to keep a bit of a babysitting watch on you as you leap off this program into the commercial to see where else we can help. So we've been doing this. This is year 4. We've been ramping up, as I said in my start this introduction, but we've provided about 10 million over the course of the last 3 years. This particular fund is worth 3.5 million. It's divided into 2 sections. So you're here for the accelerator program, where we'll put you in touch and partner you with industry partners. But we also have an innovation cluster, which you'll be urged to join by others on this call, but I'm not going to miss the opportunity. And this is something that we've created. We're up to something like 350 members now, and it brings together innovators like yourselves together with large scale freight operators, investors, and some of the academic and professional services that support freight. Okay, next slide. Have I got one more? I think I have. Yes. Again, there's more detail coming on this, but one of the reasons why we've got another year of funding is because this program works. It seems to have found a sweet spot. So of the 29 SMEs that have gone through this program, the success rate is strong. As I say, there's a better breakdown coming, but capital raised is well over 100 million of additional capital. Much of that is private, although some of it is made up of moving on to additional and further government support programs. There's a few headlines in the slide there from particular companies that have been through the program and that have seen success. But as I go around the events that sort of wrap around innovation, I'm constantly bumping into members from the previous cohorts who spend time delightfully telling me how they're growing, how they've signed up new customers, how they're employing more people, how they're competing effectively in the domestic and global marketplace. And when you're asking ministers for money, those kind of outcomes are the things that secure additional funding. Right, is that it, or I got one more? Sorry, I can't remember. Oh, yes. So I'll message you. I'll be saying this as we go. I look forward to seeing the applications. Even those that don't make it through to the sort of the 10 or so companies that we select to partner. It's fascinating for me to see the work that's taking place and the ideas that are being developed. I think it's worth saying we are not the only support program out there. I'm sure you're aware of many others, but I'm excited to receive the applications. In a world of constrained finance, innovation is going to be critical to delivering the government's missions and improving the freight sector. So I hope this webinar is really helpful to you and helps you to pull together a really good application. I hope, well, I will undoubtedly at the interview stage see some of you in person, and I look forward to that. Otherwise, sit back and relax. You're going to be taking a bit of a roller coaster ride to explain how this all works. And I think first up, I have to hand over to Steve. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thanks, David. Okay, just trying to get my camera to work. There you go. Thank you very much. My name is Steve Plyer. I'm Director of Highways and Integrated Transport and also the Programme Director for this fund. So if you could just move on to the next slide, there's going to be a little bit about the Connected Places Catapult. If you don't know us already, we are the UK's Innovation Accelerator, focusing mainly on transport, the built environment, cities and local growth. In reality, I mean, what does that mean? It's a bit of a buzzwords, but our role is to accelerate innovation in things like smarter mobility, sustainable infrastructure and urban development, with the aim of supporting cities and helping enable local growth for communities and businesses across the UK. Can move on to the next slide. Through these innovations, we aim to create better connected places. And a connected place to us is a place where living, working and moving around are improved by innovations in the systems, the infrastructure and the economy of a place. So it makes life better really in the communities and places that people work throughout the UK. And it's by working on programs like this that we can really bring in some of that exciting innovation to improve systems. Next slide, please. So how do we do this? I mean, we don't do this ourselves, and that's mainly what part of our role is. We work with a range of stakeholders across multiple sectors, across industries and all levels of government. So this includes sort of the SMEs and businesses, hopefully, that are on here that can bring the creativity and innovation to the table. We work with academia and knowledge partners, so we can really evidence and research and turn some of these ideas into a reality. And we work with public bodies such as the DFT, who can help ensure the innovation aligns with their needs and the needs of communities and policymakers across the UK. Basically, we work together to address market barriers, unlock the opportunities that innovation can bring. Next slide, please. You can see on this slide, we are just one of a number of catapults across the UK. There are 9 in total. We're supported by Innovate UK, and it's a national network accelerating innovations across different sectors. So you can see we're the connected places, so we work in places and transport, but there's also energy systems, high value manufacturing, medicine discovery. I don't need to read off the slide. You can see that there. You don't need a bedtime story at this time of day. So our unique funding model really allows us to encourage innovation where others are investing, and we can be very independent in our thoughts and thinkings and our connections so that we can bring people up to the big table and really accelerate innovation and push boundaries and create a lasting impact in the UK. As David's already mentioned, some of the previous accelerators have gone on to do some amazing things and create very strong impacts across our communities. Next slide, please. So the Freight Innovation Fund, lovingly known as FIF in the catapult. Too many acronyms for me around here. We have a £10 million DFT funded programme to support SMEs and fund trials through the Research Accelerator Programme and the Freight Innovation Cluster. So the cluster will run throughout the programme continuously, and the Accelerator Programme will identify and fund up to 15 SMEs. Which this is the 4th cohort we've done. As David mentioned, the previous 3 have been very successful. So really looking forward to finding some gems as we go through this program. Next slide. So part of what the Catapult does is brings people together because we are independent. We're a great sort of company that sits at the centre of all of this, talks to lots of different members from industry, academia, local authorities, and we've got 400 organisations in our network. So that means that we can reach out to people, we can get advice, we can help some of the SMEs here push forward their designs and really work with business. So it's a really vibrant environment where member organisations can connect, showcase the challenges, and then look at solutions through sort of great commercial partnerships, as well as co-designing with some of the people within our cohorts. So where I've been working, I've only been in the Catapult for 9 months now, but it's such a vibrant community. So many people connect at our events and just start talking and then go off and work together. It's actually really exciting to see some of the passion and excitement that these innovations and these connections can make. I believe that is my last slide. So I will probably meet most of you throughout this process, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of this innovations come to fruition. But I'll hand back to Andrea.
Great. Thank you so much, Steve. So next slide, please. Okay, cool. So as you all probably know, the goal of the Accelerator program is to support and fund the SMEs to try out their solutions in a real-world environment, but it's also to help prepare their businesses for market readiness. So our 4th accelerator was launched on May 8, and applications will remain open until June 9. In this cohort, we are looking to support up to 15 SMEs with a technology readiness level, or TRL, 5 or above. So this means your solution should already be validated in an operational environment, and you should have at least a large-scale prototype in place. You can find the full list of the TRL levels and their definitions in the application form. Each successful SME will have the opportunity to access up to 150K in funding to design and deliver a trial in partnership with industry collaborators. The program will run for 7 months, during which SMEs will trial the solutions, and they will be supported by our program partners that will provide access to testbed locations. To be eligible, applicants must address one of the program challenges, which my colleague Alessandra is going to explain in a bit. Next slide, please. Okay, so before we dive into the rest of the information, I would like to share some key impact numbers from our first 3 cohorts with you. So across the 3 cohorts, we received a total of 175 applications, from which we selected 29 SMEs to join the program. We provided these 29 SMEs 3.9 million in funding, and out of those 29 SMEs, 27 were able to successfully deliver a real-world trial during the program. Our funding was matched by the SMEs with an additional 2.5 million in-kind contributions, representing 64% of the total investment and demonstrating a strong commitment from our participants. Also, the visibility and credibility gained through the program, along with some target investment and business support, help our SMEs to raise 103 million in public and private funding to date. The program has also driven job creation, with at least 44 new positions created across various regions in the UK during the program period alone. So we expect this number to continue growing, and we are currently collecting further data on the ongoing impact. Next slide, please. Okay, so program structure. This year, the structure will be slightly different, as we have decided to split it into 2 phases. So we will have the trial design phase and then the trial delivery phase. So we will initially select up to 15 SMEs to take part in the trial design phase, where they will work closely with their industry partners to develop a tailored trial proposal based on the industry needs. Following this, CPC, DFT, and program partners will review the proposals and select up to 10 SMEs to move forward into the trial delivery phase. It means that we have included a second selection process into our program after the trial design phase. During the trial delivery phase, you will be able to implement your trials and set up everything and test your solutions in a real-world environment with your partners. And in terms of funding, all 15 SMEs in the trial design phase will receive 20K to support the development of the trial plans. Those progressing to the trial delivery phase will then receive up to 130K to carry out their trials, along with access to bespoke support provided by our team. You can also see here in this timeline where the demo day will take place, our trial onboarding, trial selection, open call, like all the details are here in this structure. Next slide, please. Okay, perfect. So in terms of funding, as I mentioned before, the Department for Transport will provide up to 150K in funding to each successful SME, and this is going to be split across the 2 phases. So we have a fixed amount, 20K for the trial design phase, and then up to 130 for the trial delivery phase. The exact amount that is going to be awarded for the trial delivery phase will be based on the trial proposal submitted during the application process. Additionally, to ensure a strong collaboration and commitment, SMEs are required to contribute 30% of the total project cost as match funding at each stage of the program. So let me give you a couple of examples. For example, during the trial design phase, all selected SMEs receive this fixed amount that is 20K, and we expect a 30% of contribution, which means the SMEs should provide approximately 88K in match support, bringing the total trial phase cost to 28K. Then for the trial delivery phase, we have the same 30 match applies, the same 30 match funding approach, sorry. So if an SME requests the full 130, their total project cost will be 185, and they will need to contribute with 55. So this means the match funding is the 30% of the total project cost and is not on top of the amount that we are providing to the SMEs. Next slide, please. So regarding the match funding, this was designed to be in kind. It doesn't have to be cash. So this could include, for example, an equipment that you already own and plan to use during the trial, or it could be a training that you're providing to your team as part of the trial setup. You will be able to outline these contributions in the cost breakdown section that we have in the application form. And we also have a full list of eligible costs and further guidance regarding the funding on our website. You can find it under the funding section. So you just have to click Learn More where you have funding, and they will you will be able to see all the information regarding this. We also have this information available in our application guidance. Also, please take into consideration that you will be required to provide evidence of your match funding during the program. Now for this cohort, we are using pre-commercial procurement model. So this means that Connected Places Catapult will procure your services to deliver the trials. So this is not a grant, so it doesn't fall under the minimal financial assistance threshold. Additionally, if your organization is VAT registered, your VAT must be listed as a separate line on your invoices to Connected Places Catapult. Regarding the payment structure, you will receive 20K upfront if you're selected for the trial design phase. Then if you progress for the trial delivery phase, you will receive 60% upfront and then 40% at the end of the program once you have completely your trial, submit your report, and it has been approved. Next slide, please. Okay, so this year we are excited to be working with 7 industry partners who will support the program and provide access to the testing facilities. So our partners for cohort 4 are the FDS, DHL, Port of Tyne, Portsmouth International Port, Wincanton, Veterans into Logistics, and Welch Group. So to better understand each partner's role in the accelerator, you will find a detailed partner profiles on our website that include the specific challenges they are interested in, the facilities and resources they can offer you, their motivations for participating in the accelerator, and other useful information to help you shape your application and your trial proposal. So we encourage you to review those profiles before submitting your application so you can tailor your trial proposal accordingly. Also, when applying, SMEs have 2 options. So you can apply with your trial proposal and request a match with one of our program partners, or you could apply with your own trial partner. This could be a freight organization that you are already in discussion with and you would like to apply together with them. If you are applying with your own partner, you will need to provide details about your partner, share some evidence of your relationship, and also ensure that your partner is available to join to the selection interviews with you. Next slide, please. Okay, in terms of the accelerator offering, beyond the financial support and the trial opportunity, we are committed to helping you to scale your business through tailored support. So at the start of phase 2, we will hold one-on-one sessions with our SMEs to assess the specific needs and identify the most relevant support and opportunities that Connected Places Catapult can provide to each of you. The tailored support includes business, marketing, and investment support. So you will work directly with an experienced advisors to refine your strategy and tackle some business challenges in these areas. Also, we manage target introductions, so we will connect you with potential customers, investors, and relevant stakeholders based on your needs. And you will also receive trial support, so our team will guide you through the designing and implementation of your trial to ensure that everything stays on track and you deliver a high-impact trial. We will culminate the program with a demonstration day. So this is a celebratory event where SMEs will showcase their solutions and demonstrate what they have achieved during the trial to key stakeholders like investor clients, government, and other stakeholders that we will invite to this event. And last but not least, all the SMEs that are selected in the accelerator will have access to a membership to our Freight Innovation Cluster. So just to clarify, everyone can access to the cluster. You just have to register through our website, and you will be able to join to this community that we built around the program, where we have different engaging opportunities like events, roundtables, community and other industry collaboration events that you could attend in there. So now I'm going to hand over to Alexandra, who will walk you through the program challenges.
Thank you, Andrea. Hello, everyone. I'm a service designer and strategy designer now as well at the Catapult, and I've been leading the challenge development for quite some time for the Freight Innovation Fund. Next slide, please. So DG, we updated our design research methodology a little bit because obviously we've been running this type of research for quite some time. So we thought it would have been really key for us to do a big research and feedback review of the previous challenges for year 1 to 3. Once we've done that, obviously we done desk research to find relevant information and data to support findings and challenge areas. But mostly, we basically created this big systems map that was linking up all the previous challenges that we had, and we presented that during the key event for this year, which was the industry workshop that we ran with the members of the Freight Innovation Fund cluster. So during that workshop, we worked on that system map of previous challenges, and basically we asked our industry partners and members of the cluster to map out anything that was missing, and in particular, any new upcoming trends, opportunities for the sectors, any challenge area that was missing from our past research. And then from those challenge areas that came out during the industry workshop, we ran our usual co-design sessions with our potential partners and the current partners that we have called for to ensure that the challenges also obviously suit their needs and are really speaking to the market. And what we came out this year is 4 challenges. So next slide, please. Next slide again. So 4 challenges that will 4 challenges that some of them are new, some of them are actually revisited from the past and are quite broad this year. So the first one is on planet-focused freight. So we're looking at innovations and interventions targeting decarbonization in the intermodal freight sector. Next slide, please. So as always, we have our challenge statement, which I just showed, and then we have a longer description highlighting the key aspects of research for that challenge in particular, as some examples that you can, so that you can better understand what truly we're looking for. So net zero and decarbonization came out as probably the key challenge for the era once again, for the sector once again. So we thought it was really important to bring it back. This is something that we looked at in the past, but this year we are really asking how can we design a model to transfer freight without using fossil fuels and without emissions. And obviously for our partners and operators, it is really key to be able to collaborate together to really link technologies and innovations so that we can achieve this goal faster. So we are focusing obviously on reducing fossil fuels and emissions, but also on collaboration on a broader level, and in particular because we're looking obviously at intermodality as well. So in addition to that, also we really think that is really key for the industry to really future-proof in terms of new upcoming trends, as well as climate resilience and obviously climate change. And setting a new no carbon model for the industry is really fundamental to set a new precedent and inspire basically the UK sector to really follow the same steps. And in terms of key examples, DJ, obviously we will be looking at fossil fuel-free technologies, green energy charging hubs, data sharing platforms. This is an example for the collaboration opportunities that obviously this challenge offer, and also sustainable model shift technologies, so digital freight planning tools that will encourage model shifts and reducing obviously carbon footprint and improving resilience. Next slide, please. So the second challenge is about circular design. So in particular, solutions and services adopting circular design principles to allow the freight sector to reuse, retrofit, recycle and upcycle vehicles, machines, technologies and waste. Next slide, please. So in this challenge, obviously retrofitting is a big part of it, but I want to stress it's not the only aspect that we're focusing on. We're looking at circular design as a whole. And obviously circular design principles are really key to reduce waste and emissions within the sector. We're looking at expanding the lifetime, the lifespan of existing vehicles, but also repurposing of materials, and really driving sustainability without compromising efficiency. So we're asking, how can we bring circularity to vehicles, materials and supply chains, as well as logistics in the sector while keeping costs down? This will mean obviously scaling up retrofitting hubs, creating incentives for fleet upgrades, developing new supply chains for recycled components, and anything obviously that will create that circular supply chain that at the moment is lacking within the sector. And obviously the success of this approach will really inspire wider adoption, hopefully, of retrofitting and circular supply models across the industry. What we're looking at in this particular challenge is obviously low carbon retrofit technologies. So being able to convert existing freight vehicles to battery electric, hydrogen, or obviously green energies to extend the lifespan, but also cut emissions. Retrofitting hubs, so any facilities that could be dedicated to upgrading those older vehicles, but also repurposing materials and lightweight modifications to those existing transport modes. Circular supply chain, which is obviously quite broad, but developing a system for recycling and reusing freight components such as tires, batteries, anything that could help minimize waste. And also material innovation is quite new, but what we're really interested in is to look at advanced lightweight and durable materials made from recycled materials to improve efficiency and sustainability in the vehicle design sector. Next slide, please. The third challenge is on freight optimization and efficiency, and this is what I was referring before when I talked about bringing back challenges that we looked at in the past. I think during the research, climate change and freight optimization and efficiency were the two key issues that our partners highlighted as really relevant still. And we thought it was really interesting to look back at this challenge that we had in the past, as we think there's so much more that can be done, obviously, in terms of optimization and efficiency. So this year we're looking at next generation of technologies to make intermodal logistics and freight less wasteful, more efficient and collaborative. Next slide, please. So when we talk about optimization and efficiency, we're specifically referring to the 30% of journeys that are currently running empty. And we're looking at how AI and data-driven optimizations and services are really crucial for making freight more efficient. And we're looking at smarter logistics that can cut waste, reduce emissions, and improve profitability across the sector. What we're really asking is how can we use those new smarter technologies such as AI and data to optimize freight journeys and eliminate current inefficiency. And what we really think is key here, once again, is collaboration, and in particular, the integration of real-time tracking, predictive analytics, that could really lead to minimum empty runs and maximize capacity use. And this approach could really redefine industry standards, once again, bringing in collaboration between the different partners and proving that those new smarter technologies can really boost efficiency while cutting costs and also emissions once again. In terms of what we're looking at, that would be dynamic loads matching, such as AI-powered platforms that can connect operators in real time to reduce empty runs and improve efficiency. AI predictive analytics that can really forecast demand, optimize routing, and improve delivery schedules. automated logistic platforms again, but also smart freight corridors, so AI announced transport routes with real-time data sharing and adaptive traffic controls that can really help minimize those empty runnings. Those are just a few examples. Obviously, we're not focused on those that I've just provided, but these are just to give you a better understanding of what we mean with this challenge. Next slide, please. This is quite new for us. We're looking at people in freight. So services and products that shape healthy, diverse, inclusive, and safe workplaces and communities. We ran a new research to really understand people in freight and how we can improve their workplaces, their communities, in terms of obviously health and safety, diversion, inclusion, but also training and upskilling. Next slide, please. So I mean, obviously, the health and safety and the upskilling of the workforce are really essential to promote less polluted, safer, diverse, and inclusive working environments for all. And a few of the challenges that were highlighted during our research that people in freight are really facing at the moment are in particular around training, new learnings, as well as health and safety. And in particular, we're looking at the aging workforce who is facing new challenges in terms of learning how to dispatch and use net zero vehicles and technologies. So we're really asking how can we train them to boost their learning while also keeping emissions down. So how can they use new technologies such as VR sets or any new training method that will keep basically that will basically help them learn those new skills, but at the same time not putting any extra vehicles on the roads. So how can we upskill and rescue people to keep them up to date in terms of new trends and technologies without aggravating traffic? But at the same time, new challenges are also looking at new threats such as cyber attacks, safety hazards, pollutions, and more. So how do we minimize the risks in order to shape a better and healthier workspace for both the people and the planet? And some examples of technologies that we have in this challenge are around planet-focused training methods, as I mentioned, so trainings and courses that would use new tools and new technologies to reduce emissions, but also keeping people up to date in terms of their skilling. Net zero upskilling, once again, so how do we train a diverse and inclusive workforce to shift towards net zero? And also health and safety, so any technologies that will basically help increase safety for workers and drivers by creating a working environment that prevents errors as well as cyber attacks and similar. So these are our 4 challenges, and I'm gonna so I know we're just gonna say these are 4 challenges. If you have any questions, I think we have a space for Q&A at the end, and now I'm back to you, Andrea.
Great, thank you so much, Ale. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, cool. So how to apply? First of all, quick reminder, application will close on June 9. So we strongly encourage you to submit your application early. In that way, if you run into any questions or you need any support or if you have any issues, we will have the time to help you before the deadline. On the screen, you can see the eligibility criteria, which are also available on our website. So please make sure you meet all the requirements before starting your application to avoid any issues down the line. So you must be an SME, address one of the challenges, program challenges. You must have a TRL 5 or above. So if you have a lower TRL, you could also apply to our TRIC program that David mentioned before. So this program was launched at the beginning of the week, and they help SMEs to develop their solutions. You can find out more on our website. You also must have a UK registered company. We won't be able to proceed with those SMEs that are not registered in the UK. You must have operations in the UK as well, and you must be willing to test in a real world environment. And well, of course, having commitment to engage with the program and get the most out of it. On our website, you will find a dedicated How to Apply section, which includes some supporting documents that we, again, strongly encourage you to review before submitting your application. So you will be able to find an application guidance with all the details about the form, program terms and conditions, partner profiles, the challenge document, which include all the information that Alexandra just shared. And we also have a frequently asked questions document in case you would like to review it if you have any doubts. Also, just to let you know, the application is divided into sections. So the first one is going to be focused on your business, and the second one is going to be focused on your trial proposal. So there you have to outline your trial plan, expected impact, budget, or other key details that you would like us to know. And this part is really, really important for us to help us understand how feasible your trial is and how well it aligns with our program partners and the challenges. So please try to use a simple language that everyone can understand, and try to be as concise as possible. Next slide, please. Okay, cool. So this year we have a new process for the assessment where we have included an anonymous process. So in this way, we could reduce bias and make the evaluation process as fair as possible. So we are using this system, and we are asking all the SMEs to please avoid mentioning your company name or any personal details in the descriptions of your answers. So you will find all like the instructions and everything detailed in the form and also in the application guidance. But please feel free to say like our company or our team or our CEO. So in this way, you can help us to actually put this process in place. Also, there is a separate section at the beginning of the form where we ask for some details for the company name, website, your company number, because this information is essential for us to run all our due diligence process. However, this information will only be reviewed after the shortlisting stage and will not be visible to the assessors during the evaluation period. Next slide, please. Okay, here we have the program timeline and how the selection process works. So as you know, again, we launch on the 8th, application deadline is June 9. And once application close, our team at Connected Places Catapult will review, score, and shortlist around 25 SMEs. We will be contacting those SMEs on June 27th. And if you are shortlisted, we will share with you all the details of the selection process, which consists on 2 interview stages. So the first stage is the technical and business due diligence. So this is a 30-minute session with technical and industry experts from Connected Places Catapult. This interview will be around the innovation behind your solution, feasibility of your proposed trial, the potential impact and sustainability. And this interview will be like a deep dive into your technology and trial design. So we recommend you having a team member with technical expertise in the interview. And those will take place between the 7th and the 9th of July. Then the second interview is the commercial one. So if you progress to this stage, you will attend to a second interview with our program partners and the Department for Transport. It's another 30 minutes meeting where you will have 10 minutes to pitch, followed by 10 minutes for Q&A. And this interview will be focused on the business model, your ability to collaborate with partners, and the value that you bring to the freight sector. They will take place between the 14th and the 16th of July, and we aim to finalize the cohort selection by the week commencing on August 11th. So if you're selected for interviews, we will send you all the details, links, and both interviews will be held virtually. Finally, the accelerator will officially kick off on August 26th. with an in-person onboarding day at our London office. So this event is designed to welcome you to the program, introduce you to your fellow cohort members and partners, and host our trial design workshop. Then we will wrap up the program with the demo day, as I mentioned before, and this is going to take place in March 2026. Next slide, please. Okay, so last but not least, let's take a look at the scoring criteria that we will use to evaluate your application. So there are 6 key criteria, and you can see the weighting for each of them on this slide. So the first one is a solution. We will assess how innovative your product is, whether it has a clear unique selling proposition and the development stage of your solution. Then the criteria 2 is a testbed proposal. So once again, your use case must address one of the program challenges. But here we are looking for a clear trial plan, including the timeline, cost breakdown, expected outcomes, and how you plan to collaborate with a partner. Again, please try to use a simple language for everyone. Then the third one is the testbed feasibility. Here we are evaluating whether your trial is realistically achievable within the time frame of the program, taking into account your solution maturity, your resources available, and budget. Then we have impact. So we will look at the short and long-term potential of your solution, the impact you can have in the freight sector, and the broader benefits of adopting your technology. Then we have team, which is really important. We are looking for applicants to demonstrate that their team has all the necessary skills and knowledge and background to deliver. So please try not to mention names here again, just to keep all the anonymization in place. And I will recommend you just to briefly tell us what each team member brings to the table and who will be working in this project. And finally, traction. So we want to see evidence that your solution meets the market needs. So if you already have clients, tell us about them. If not, highlight your growth strategy, potential partnerships, and any notable achievements such as grants or any awards that you may have secured so far. So these are the 6 criteria. They are designed to identify the most promising, impactful, and feasible solutions. And we are really excited to see what you bring forward. So next slide, please. All right, so we can move to the Q&A session now. But before we begin, I would like to quickly mention that we will be hosting 2 European sessions for anyone who would like to have a one-on-one conversation with us. So this session will take place on May 28th and June 3rd. So please scan the QR code that we have here on the screen and you will be able to register. You can also find the link on our website in case you would like to attend to any of these sessions. So now I'll ask our panelists to please turn on your camera so we can start answering the questions that we have received so far. Okay, so we have a first question that is, when you say multimodal, does not include trucks, maritime, drones, rail, and planes. So a multimodal solution in freight refers like a logistic approach that uses 2 or more different transport modes. So this could be road, rail, sea, air, I don't know, inland waterways. So that's the meaning of a multimodal solution. So in that case, the answer is yes. It refers to those. Perfect. The second question is, in regards to the listed partners, do you need to line up one of them to a sponsor before the application gets submitted, or does that come later? Yes, during the application, you will have a question that asks you if you would like to apply with your own partner or if you would like to be matched with one of our partners. If you select to be matched with one of our partners, then you will have like a multiple options. So you can select more than one partner. You can select 2 or 3 to work with them. The rest of the panelists, the speakers, if you would like to say something, please feel free to just unmute yourself and add any comments. Okay, the next question is regarding supporting content in the application, what should we add? How much can we add? Is adding more better? We have word counting in our application form. So you shouldn't pass that amount of words for each answer. But I will say that it's better to be concise than adding too much information, because think that all these assessors will be reading around 60 application. And if the application is too long, you can maybe get lost between words. So my advice will be to be concise, but provide the necessary details for us to be able to assess your application in the best way. I don't know if the other speakers would like to add something to that.
No, that's spot on, Andrea. Just answer the question. Less waffle, more conciseness. It just makes it easier to mark.
Great. Thank you, Steve. Is having raised a lot of money a positive or negative thing? What are your expectations? That's a really good question. I will say that it's not positive or negative. I mean, it depends on your business. There are some businesses that actually needs raise money to be able to scale, but there are other businesses that don't need it. So that's not something that is going to stop you to stop us, to select an SME if they haven't raised money, or if they had. That will be my opinion, but I don't know if you would like to add your opinion to that question. The rest of the speakers? Nope. Okay, next question. Do we have to anonymize everything, including where we got funding from, or any organizations that we have worked with, or any organizations that we have provided us with letter of intent? No, you don't have to anonymize that. What you have to anonymize is the name of your company, name of your employees. But I mean, if you already raised capital, you would like to mention who were the investors, or you would like to mention who are your clients, or if you have received letter of intent from organizations, yeah, you could do that without any problem. Also, I didn't mention, but in the application form, you are able to put images in there. I will highly recommend you to actually include images, because it will be good for some assessors to be able to see the product. But if you're gonna do that, please try to remove logos from those images, again, to keep the anonymization. Okay, will there be scope for any academic research input, perhaps as part of phase 2, or is that more related to TRIG? So I think that's more related to TRIG, but if during your trial, academic research, no, yeah, sorry. I think that will be more related to TRIG, because the idea of phase 2 is that you spend the money trialing your solution. So yeah, that will be my advice, but I don't know if Kritika, you would like to add something.
I was going to say, like, whether it's TRIG or FIF really depends on the TRL of the solution.
Yeah, of course.
So I think you would only apply for TRIG if you are in very early stages of development. So if you're applying for FIF, we're saying you're 5+ in technology readiness level. So depends on what the academic research input is for, because if you are at later stages and working with an industry partner, you're really doing a trial to show real life implementation of the solution. And if the technical research input really relates to that particular trial, then it could be a part of phase 2, but it would have to show what value it adds to the trial, because phase 2 really is focused on that. I would say if you see that there is some link to that, then it should be developed during your phase 1. So when you do the trial planning and feasibility, you'd have to build in the academic research into that and really show how it adds value to the live trial. So if there is that connection, then definitely apply it to FIF, and maybe include that in your application, articulate how it adds value at a later stage of technology readiness and how it supports live trial.
Yeah, David?
Yeah, so it wasn't particularly on this question, but I just wanted to go back to the question of multimodality and what we mean by it. Look, I'm very conscious that a lot of innovations will have been developed to address a particular problem that's probably been identified on a particular mode. So you might have some AI that's been focused on ports. I think is to think about additional applicability of the solution more widely across the freight system. So, I mean, I would say feel free to sort of focus on what the core design has been developed for at this time. But we are a multimodal program, so we're interested in potential further applicability across the system. So, you know, there are similarities, let's say, between ports and warehouses. So you might want, in that example, you might want to talk about potential future application across warehousing. And there will be other examples. I would say it's very unusual to find a technology that's been developed specifically to reach out across multiple modes.
Great, thank you. So I think we are out of time, but we still have some questions in here. So what I'm thinking is that we can include these questions in our frequent asked questions document with the answer in there. But also, please feel free to join to the Drop-in sessions if you would like to discuss this further with us. But once again, thank you so much for joining to the webinar. Please feel free to reach out to us through our email, join to the drop-in sessions. And yeah, well, looking forward to see your applications and meeting you in person. Thank you so much.